Welcome to the Fathering Strong podcast, dedicated to empowering fathers to build stronger families and communities. Each week, we bring you conversations with experts, everyday dads, and community leaders who share their wisdom and experience to help you become the father your children need. Whether you're a new dad just starting out, a seasoned father facing new challenges, or someone who mentors and supports fathers in your community, you'll find practical advice, heartfelt stories, and evidence-based strategies to strengthen your fathering journey. You can find all our previous episodes, resources for fathers, and information about Urban Light Ministries programs at urbanlight.org. If you find value in our podcast, please subscribe and share with other fathers in your life who might benefit from this community. And now, here's Pastor Eli Williams with this week's episode.
Hello, friends, and welcome to another installment of the Fathering Strong podcast. Eli Williams here. Bruce Stapleton is behind the scenes, and we're delighted that you joined us today. We've got another interesting guest today, someone I've known for quite a number of years now, and we've worked together in the fatherhood space. His name is Michael Newsom, now Dr. Michael Newsom. Welcome, Mike.
Thank you, Eli. Thanks for having me.
I'm glad that we were able to get you to join us today on the Fathering Strong podcast. And what we want to do, Mike, is we'll start by getting personal. I'm going to ask you some questions about your own fathering experience from the aspect of your relationship with your dad, and then we'll get into your personal parenting. From there, we want to talk about your work in fatherhood. So here we go. I'm going to start as we always do with the question, tell me about your experience growing up in the Newsom household, and particularly your relationship with your dad.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, I was very fortunate and still am. I still have my father. My parents have been married for 57 years, so grew up with two great parents.
That's amazing.
Yeah, my mom was really one of the most popular teachers ever in Xenia, Ohio, and then my father was a locksmith and maintenance man over at Central State for 35 years. So, I always say I grew up family rich. Because I had two very involved parents, two parents who certainly, were able to put bread on the table, but at the same time didn't make making money their priority, which meant that they were around a lot. You've heard me say, to our clients and everybody else that'll listen, it's your presence, Presence, not your Presents, that really count the most, So my folks were always around. I played 3 sports in high school and football in college, and I don't ever remember a game of any of those where my parents weren't in the stands. So my fathering experience was great. He, like I said, his omnipresence is really the thing that stands out to me the most. Like I said, I was a huge into sports. He was a sports guy as well, and I mean, he was the first one, throwing me those fly patterns out in the backyard, and the first one hitting me ground balls, and the first one, playing one-on-one hoops with me. So, it really did a lot for me. And then, of course, even though this is the Fathering Strong podcast, I got to mention my mom was really a little bit more of the academic piece. So I was very fortunate to have both in my house.
Yes, you were. Absolutely. So you didn't mention that you went to Wittenberg. And now, even though this podcast goes out far beyond Springfield, but it's interesting that you grew up in Xenia, but you did go to Wittenberg and you played football, correct?
I did. I was fortunate to be able to play receiver at Wittenberg. It was a few years ago. As I tell people, I look like a linebacker now, but I was a receiver back then. So it was a great experience for me, especially coming from a smaller town. And Wittenberg at that time we had about 2,100 students. So it was a great, intimate setting for me. I'm not sure I could have, those bigger universities may have been a little bit more of a challenge for me, even though I'm sure I would have found a way to get it done. But yeah, Wittenberg was a great experience, and certainly started my educational journey in my life.
Excellent. Let's move then to your growing up and becoming a father yourself. Let's start with how you met your wife.
Yeah. So first, if you don't mind, I will tell you about my first daughter, who is not with my wife.
Yes.
So I did have some experience with as a single father. So you said I went to Wittenberg 3 months after I graduated in 1990. My daughter, who will be 35 here in September, was born. So she was born 3 months after that. So it was time that I had to go get to work, start making some money. Again, of course, as I mentioned, come from a very stable family, so I had a lot of support as far as that goes. And fortunately had a great relationship with the mother of the child, of my daughter as well, so that we were able to co-parent, pretty seamlessly for the most part. And still, I was just at my grandkids' baseball game the other day, and my daughter's mother was sitting right next to me, and it was, we don't have any of that type of drama. But yeah, it was an experience because, quite frankly, Eli, we haven't had a lot of out of wedlock births in my family, so it was a little bit of a different experience, for us. And, we were able to work through it, again, really based on the fact that I grew up with two great parents who not only were willing to pitch in, but really gave me that foundation of, hey, here's what parenting looks like, so that made a huge difference for me. Then a few years later, when my daughter was about 6, I met my wife, and we will be, and then my son, who is 10 and a half years older than my daughter, came along. And so those are my only two children. My wife and I will celebrate 25 years here in July, being married. But yeah, man, two different experiences, not only a boy and a girl, but one out of wedlock, one in, marriage. And so it really, I think that has really helped me in my work a lot to be able to kind of, have experienced those two different paths as far as, of fatherhood. Although I'm always quick to say, like I said, I grew up in a pretty good setting, so I don't want to put out there like, oh, I'm a single father, like a lot of these guys are out here struggling or, didn't have food on their table. That's a different experience. But at the same time, it certainly gave me a glimpse of both worlds.
Yeah. As long as we've known each other, I don't think I knew about your older daughter. Had you told me that before?
Probably, but it's probably been a while. Yeah.
And plus I'm old.
No. We got a lot going on, just like we do. Yeah.
Yeah. So that gives you a glimpse into, many of the issues and challenges that fathers have, fathers and mothers, but since our focus is on fathers, with trying to manage that relationship with that child and also that child's parent. I guess I should ask you if your daughter has another father figure. Is there a stepfather or someone like that?
She did. She certainly did growing up. A great guy. I mean, similar background to me, 2-parent household, all that kind of stuff. So really a good dude. I've always gotten along with him, and we, like I said, it's pretty much just been one big happy family. My daughter, as well as now my grandkids. My daughter has 3 children with her husband, 10, 8, and 4. And, again, they really just have bonus people in their lives loving them. There really, hasn't been, and we've been very fortunate to not have, any drama or, we don't want these people around or any of that type of stuff. So yeah, we've been very fortunate with that. But yeah, it's, again, it's a different, it's kind of the 2025 version, right? It gives us, I guess it gives us an opportunity to see what, some of the non-traditional families are like. As I mentioned, I grew up in a very traditional family. So that experience of having my daughter, although it was fairly, traumatic and whatever at the time. But, in the end, it's really has given me an experience. And as I tell my guys, when I tell this story, one of the key factors was I didn't have any more, until I got married, so, certainly if I had 2 or 3 out of wedlock, we might be having a different conversation. But, and so that's what I talk to those guys about, if you want to be being a good parent, one of the keys is try to keep the number of folks you have to parent down.
Yeah, so important, so important. Well, that's excellent. That gives me. We could go a lot of different directions with this conversation,
Yeah.
and perhaps we'll do that sometime, and have you share more about the co-parenting experience and building a relationship with your child's other family
Right.
to make life even better for that other child rather than all the drama, which so many times is more the case.
That's right.
Yeah, we see a lot of that. All right, so let's move then to your work. You work with dads, and when we first met, I think the first time we met
Mm-hmm.
is when I was doing some work in your county,
Mm-hmm.
and you were the let's see, you worked for the child support division of
Mm-hmm.
your Job and Family Services
Mm-hmm.
agency, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And then a part of your responsibility was working with fathers and
Mm-hmm.
helping to develop a fatherhood initiative for Montgomery
Yes.
County. Help me out. Am I getting that close to
Yeah,
right?
that's pretty close. I mean, I started my career as a child support supervisor with the county. So I told you I'm celebrating 25 years of marriage this year. I'm also celebrating 25 years with the county. So, which
Congratulations.
seems crazy. Thank you. But yeah, so we started with the county as a child support supervisor. I did that for 10 years, and I mean, toward like the ninth or so year, the our director at the time, Job and Family Services director at the time, said, "Wow, so in child support, I don't know if you remember, but in child support in the early days, say 2000, 2001, it was very punitive. It was very much like, these guys aren't paying. Let's go out and nail them. That's when driver's license suspension began, and a lot of other policies that were really kind of like, to be, it was really about enforcement at that time. And that's, it's called the Child Support Enforcement Agency. So that's really what it was about. Then probably I would say 06, 07, or maybe a little bit before, the pendulum started to swing a little bit to, I don't know why we're doing this with these guys, because this is not effective. We need to give them some support and say, listen, you still have to pay your child support, but here are some ways that we can help you maybe get employed. Maybe we can work with you a little bit more. You be a little bit more flexible about your arrears, et cetera, et cetera. So we were able to do that. So once we started doing a lot of that stuff, and me being one of the few men that worked here, quite frankly, I did a lot of community outreach. And so our JFS director said, wow, I think we may actually need a dedicated position to deal with fathers. And so I became, the first fatherhood director pretty much in the state that actually works for a county. Now, I mean, there are a lot of 501c3s like yourself and others. But as far as actually working for the county, that was really a new motto in 2010 that we came up with. And that was shortly after that I met you. So, yeah, it was very much a blank slate, because, again, not only had we not done it before, there really wasn't anybody that we could, get on the phone and go, hey, how are you doing this at your county? Because no counties were doing it. There's only even 15 years later, only 2 or 3 others now even. So it's just, again, was a great experience, to be able to get creative with it, and try to bring, the services to fathers that I had really unearthed kind of out doing a lot of community outreach, talking about child support, which was mainly what I had been doing in that role.
Yeah, good stuff. You're doing good work down there. And I talk like it's so far away, only 25 minutes.
That's right. That's right.
But yeah, and you have some activities, like, for instance, you have an annual celebration of fatherhood. You want to talk some about that?
Sure, yeah. So you met with me back in, I think it was 2011, and talked about an event that you do in Springfield, and so we kind of took that and took that model and really kind of enhanced it a little bit, a little bigger area, not much bigger, but a little bit of a bigger area. So we were able to have our annual picnic. My dad rocks, as you coined the phrase. Back in the day. And so But we're really proud of that. It started. We did our first one in 2012, and we'll be doing another one here. We're broadcast. We're taping today. It's May 19th. So on June 14th, we'll be doing our probably whatever number it is. I think 12th, since we didn't miss 1 year for COVID. And it's just a great event because we. It really gives the community an opportunity to come out and celebrate fatherhood. And also, I think a lot of people don't understand the lack of opportunities for some families to go out and do something in a safe space, and we get free food, free T-shirts, and all those different type of things, and really just kind of a nice family atmosphere. And we've been very sustainable with it, which I'm super proud of, and I have to give Montgomery County credit, of course, as well. But super proud of that. It's something that you can look forward to every year. It's not as they say, a one-off where you go, oh wow, it never happened again. And so we also we added in 2016 our Fatherhood Banquet, which has really been a hit as well. It's a dress up event on the Friday of Father's Day weekend from 6 to 9 p.m. And what we do is it's $40 a plate, but what we're able to do is get corporate and other sponsorship, and they'll send me, they'll say, hey Mike, here's a table, here's $320 for a table of 8. We're not going to be able to attend, but we want you to distribute the tickets to some deserving families. And so those families have largely been families of returning citizens, folks coming out of incarceration, and we're able to get them get them those tickets. They can come to a dress up event. We have a great organization here called Closed at Work that really that helps folks get free suits and different things like that. So they give them the free suits, and then they get to nothing wrong with eating at McDonald's or Pizza Hut or whatever, but it's nice to have a nice sit down meal as well. Some of us that can afford a $40 a plate dinner, a lot of folks cannot, and especially those who have been coming out of incarceration. We work closely with our Montgomery County Office of Reentry, which we're very fortunate to have as well. And so we're able to do that. And what it does, Eli, is it puts the folks that are from the community, say returning from incarceration, et cetera, different things like that, in the same room with the judges and the commissioners and the other dignitaries. And it kind of creates that, one community feeling, and that's really what I'm always striving for and pushing for. And our keynote speaker is always somebody that has come out of incarceration and is, has really turned their lives around and has, a lot of times become a business owner, a barber, or whatever, different things like that. Just to kind of give an example to some of the other folks in the room that, you can do it, so I stay away from the celebrities and stuff like that for the most part, not because there's anything wrong with them, but, again, a lot of people, they're just not quite as relatable to me as folks from the community who have done great things. So yeah, we're really ramping up for those two events, and again, we get a lot of interest as it starts when we get past Mother's Day. It's when folks really start to get engaged with those two events. So we're very proud of both.
Now, are both events open to the public?
Absolutely. So,
all right. Good.
Yeah,
so why don't you go a little bit more into detail how someone who is watching this, if they're in the area, can be a part of it? Absolutely. The best way to be a part of, let's start with the banquet, is really to email me, which it's newsomm@mcohio.org. I'll repeat it, newsomm@mcohio.org. Really send me information saying that you want to attend the banquet. And, I always say, we'll make the money piece work. My main concern is that you actually attend. So, I don't want to give you a ticket and you go, I had something else going on. So, I try to really distribute the tickets as close to the time of the event as possible. And the fatherhood picnic the next day, anybody could just walk in, and there aren't any tickets. It's just kind of a come on downtown to the Levitt Pavilion
which is right down here across the street from the Ribo building. Levitt Pavilion's the place where they do all the free concerts all summer. And come downtown. Don't try to do it this week because NATO's here. But
That's right.
I had a heck of a time getting to work today myself. But you can come down on that Saturday, June 14th, from 10 to 3, and just really enjoy yourself. So yeah, we everything we do is open. Everything we do is open to the public, and even the things I do also a Fatherhood Summit in January, which is really for service providers to try to give them some tips and have them share tips with others about how they serve fathers and how we can serve fathers better, fathers and their families. But even that event is open to the public. There's no restrictions on who can attend our events.
Excellent. Good work. Now, do you still do your My Dad Rocks event where the children have an opportunity to nominate their father for recognition?
Yeah, so we tweaked that a little bit. So the Friday night, again, that used to be on that Friday night. Now we're doing the Fatherhood Banquet. So we give away a couple on that night. We'll give away a couple what they call Father of the Year awards. And sometimes a lot of times they might accompany might be an essay or something from their child to come up, and they can come up and either read it or maybe do an art project. But it's not as full blown as the one you used to attend there at the Vineyard Church, which was a great event as well. For one thing, our art teacher, Joni Watson, who's great, she's on our committee, but she retired from DPS, so she was really very largely responsible for getting a lot of those art projects and stuff like that. So, and we wanted to ramp it up a little bit with the again with giving the folks an opportunity to come to a little bit more of an upscale event. But yeah, I always enjoyed that piece, and it's one of those things, man, where you bring the community together, and you give the kids that pride, and you've been to that event, man. You talk about a lot of tears, flowing at that, just because of wow, a lot of times dads don't even know the kids are paying that much attention to them, right? And then all of a sudden it's like they see some project and they go, oh wow, I didn't even know you were watching me like that, so yeah, that was always a cool thing too. But yeah, we switched that Friday over to the banquet.
My guest today is Michael Newsom. He is the Fatherhood Coordinator. I'm not sure of that title, but that's sort of what he does in Montgomery County, Ohio. So we're neighbor counties. And for those of you not familiar with Montgomery County, that has the seat of Montgomery County is Dayton, Ohio, which is I'll call it the center of a 9-county, I believe it's 9-county region called the Miami Valley. And he's doing yeoman's work there with dads, and is a good example for anyone who is watching this. You're from a county that doesn't have anything significant going on in fatherhood. I would recommend you talk to Michael Newsom for Montgomery County, and also Cuyahoga County has excellent work going on there in the Cleveland area. It's a different kind of fatherhood initiative, but they're doing great work as well. We'll be back after this short time out with my guest, Dr. Michael Newsom, on the Fathering Strong podcast.
Every father faces a crucial question. How do I become the dad my children truly need? I'm Bruce Stapleton, and my new book, Fathering Strong, God's Blueprint for Leading Your Family, offers the guidance you've been searching for. Drawing from scripture and real-life experiences, this book provides practical wisdom for fathers at every stage, from cradling a newborn to connecting with adult children. Discover how to build a legacy of faith, courage, and love through authentic fatherhood. Available now where books are sold.
This is the Fathering Strong podcast. Eli Williams here. My guest is Mike Newsom from Montgomery County. He is the point of the spear when it comes to fatherhood in Montgomery County. Mike, tell us about what would you say is the biggest challenge? Maybe there's more than one, but what are your biggest challenges when it comes to working with fathers?
Yeah, number one still, Eli, after 25 years almost in the business, is still I don't get to see my children. I mean, that's still the biggest one I get from the fathers. And it's a big challenge because, for those that don't know, especially if you're listening from around the country, in Ohio, when you have a child out of wedlock, the mother has all the rights. And I mean, that's just the way it is. Now, you can go to court and assert your rights as a father, get parenting time, what's commonly known as visitation. But once that child is born out of wedlock, even if you establish paternity, you still have no rights to see your child until you get those, go assert those in court. So that one's probably the number one, most difficult one because again, it involves court involvement. Now, in Montgomery County, we are fortunate. We have our public defender's office that will work closely with the guys and help them fill out pro se packets and different things like that to try to get them moving in the right direction. And I mean, another piece that's very important to this, just like it is in general with fatherhood programming, is, you have to tell the guys, the fathers, that you need to make sure that you're, being the type of person that, someone would want to allow to visit their kids and different things like that. I've told guys over the years who have complained to me, I said, I wouldn't let you in my house either. I mean, the way you act, the way you talk, the way you do that, I mean, you're not going to have success with that as anything. That's not going to work in any setting, whether it's getting employment or trying to be a father, whatever. So we always make sure that they kind of try to pick it up as well. But to stay on your question, I mean, that is the biggest challenge. Child support is certainly, right up there as well. Child support oftentimes is a little bit more manageable because there are, you're dealing with hard numbers a lot of times. So if they have a $400 a month order and we can help them get a reduction and take it down to $200, then you pay that $200, you're okay. The huge challenge with visitation is even if you get the order in place, if the mom doesn't comply with it, your recourse is limited. So even if you go through the whole process of getting that order in place, if she doesn't comply, then I mean you have to go back to court, file contempt, et cetera, et cetera. And so realistically speaking, the courts are not going to put a custodial parent in jail for not following an order. I mean, a visitation order. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but it's super rare. So I think that that still is always going to be an issue. About trying to be a good parent is not being able to see your kids. And since I touched on child support, it's exacerbated by sometimes when they're paying child support, they're extra frustrated by the fact of I'm paying child support and I still don't get to see my kids. So just continuing to educate and let them know that those two are separate items, and so just try to make sure that they understand all the rules around that. But it's a struggle, every day, because as I mentioned, you can have that order in place. But if you show up on Christmas Eve and she says, and they're not home, or she says the kid's not going with you, I mean, you're just going to go without your kids on Christmas Eve. That's just the way it goes. And you can't get those moments back.
Yeah, and it's hurtful because it's a justice issue.
Right.
Those things may not be connected. I mean, court is not, the same as administrative process for child support collection.
Right.
But to the father, it's like that doesn't matter. This is not right. So
Right.
It's a justice issue. What is happening, if anything, in the state of Ohio to correct that?
Yeah.
Imbalance of justice.
So there have been some bills introduced. The issue again continues to be that the local entities have a lot of control in this area. So I always tell people, a lot of times I'm doing presentations, and I always say I'm speaking Montgomeryese, because some of the stuff we do, for example, we have a child support caseload that's especially for folks coming out of incarceration, that helps them, gives them time to get on their feet, et cetera, et cetera. You go to some other counties, that may not be the case. And as I mentioned, there's no fatherhood director. There's no office of reentry. There's no, like I said, the public defender is only concerned with criminal cases, so, I could go on and on and on. And so a lot of times it's the lack of resources, but it's a big challenge to get, sweeping legislation that's going to deal with this, because it is such a complex issue. Do you really want to, even us as fathers, do you want to start off giving every father 50% custody? Are all of them, worthy of that, or should that be, so there's that question that you have to ask yourself. And so each case and situation is so unique, that it really makes trying to put some laws in place to govern this very difficult.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's flip the script then and talk about some of your greatest achievements. What would you say of all the things that you've been able to accomplish over these more than a decade experience in working with dads? Yeah. What can you point to as the thing that you are the most proud of?
Yeah. So the thing I'm most proud of is that, we've really been able to change the conversation in a lot of places, so in other words, I love talking to clients still, as I ascended, and got higher up, a lot of people wanted me to pull back on some of that, but I just don't think you can get it done without talking to clients and knowing what's going on the street. But at the same time, I think one of the things that I'm proudest of is that, when I walk into a room or come to a meeting, they know what the brand is. They know what it's going to be about. So if we're in there talking about parents, and you're not planning on including fathers, that's, they know good and well that I'm going to say something about that. And they know that I always tell our 501c3s or whoever's working with families, if a single mom comes in and says she needs help, if your first question is not, where's the father, you're doing it wrong. Right. So, so I'm always telling them, you need to, we have to switch the paradigm from mom and a program to mom and dad, because that's who needs to raise the children. That's who made the children. And again, that's the most sustainable model for the children being raised. Montgomery County closes at 5:00. So yeah. After that, you're on your own, that's, if something happens at 10 p.m. on Tuesday or, Saturday at 3, nobody here is answering the phone. So you're going to have to, have that sustainable of having two involved parents in your life. And I'm really proud that we, again, not only have expanded into giving folks that information, the service providers, but that we talked about the Fatherhood Picnic. I failed to mention at that event, we'll have over 20 service providers that will come out and set up a table and whatever. And many of these organizations have been heavily for years, basically just only served moms, but they understand the value, now of like, wow, this fatherhood thing really, touches us and it means something to us. People have asked me many years. I have a lady here that I used to walk down this one hallway and she would yell out to me, when you going to start the motherhood program? And I would tell her, I am helping mothers by helping fathers. Just think about the things that mothers always complain about. Right. I can't get out. I don't have any money. I can't. Okay, well, they're starting to pay some child support. Well, I don't have anybody to help me with the kids. Well, we got the visitation order, so they can do that. So all those things. We're just trying to make sure that these not only the clients but also the service providers understand. Fatherhood touches everything as far as the family goes, and making them understand how it's relevant, I think has been has been one of our biggest achievements. We get invited to places now that we never would have, 10 years ago, just because, they say, man, we need to get his perspective. I was on a panel last year with the folks about domestic violence, the lady from the domestic violence shelter and a few other people, and they, we had a little back and forth, throughout that session, but for them to even, invite me and know that, that perspective needs to be heard, was a big step, that's the thing. I can certainly quote you statistics about all the child support guys are paid and all that kind of stuff. But I think that's really what I'm proudest of.
Yeah. And let me add something to that. Mm-hmm. I mean, you said a lot then, but the other thing, working with fathers and helping mothers and fathers cooperate in co-parenting their children, they're not just gaining another responsible adult who loves them. They're gaining another whole side of the family. I mean, that child has uncles and aunts and cousins and others who are connected with the father, who bring resources, they bring love, they bring identity and all sorts of things into the equation for that child. So it's so much more than just restoring the father's rights and, access to the child, but everything else that comes along with the father, in a perfect scenario.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's why we talk about there's a big movement now in the kinship world, in Ohio, and I know it's something that Kim Dent from the Ohio Commission on Fatherhood is really starting to put a focus on. Is this matter of with children's services cases and different things like that, making sure we find the father, because you hit it on the head. That's what I tell people all the time. If you don't find the father, you don't find the father's family. Right. So even if the guy is incarcerated or not the type of person that, is worthy of being a co-parent or take custody or whatever, you don't know about his sister, his brother, his aunt, his uncle, all of those folks. I mean, he may come from a fantastic family, and it doesn't even have to be a fantastic family. You just need one person, from that family that is able to say, oh my gosh, I didn't know somebody, my nephew was not, didn't have a family, didn't have a place to go. Of course I'll take him in, but I mean, if you don't get that information, as far as who the father is, and then start asking them some questions, then, I mean, there's no way that's ever going to be a safe landing spot, for those kids. Yeah. I mean, that, again, one more thing on that kinship thing. It's just so unbelievably important. I went to a presentation up in Columbus, this organization called Connect, KINNECT, and they did a great presentation about it. Actually, one of our local judges spoke on the panel with me as well. But it was just awesome because they talked about how, when they reached out to folks, even not just the father, but folks that in the mom's life, they would say, oh my gosh, this one lady, this lady used to be a hairdresser in her life, and she was able to, take custody of the kids. So the point being, a lot of times, we want the kids to be in an environment where somebody that cares about them and has some connection to them, has the opportunity to take them in and be with them, as opposed to maybe a stranger. So that's, but that, again, that all starts with, who's the father, right? Not, we got you covered with all this other stuff we can give you. Don't worry about him. It's who is he? Where is he? Why is he not present? That's kind of that normalizing, of a father not being around. And that's very dangerous for our community.
Yes. And very, very hurtful for the children.
Yes.
So who are the individuals and or organizations that have been valuable as collaborators with you in your work with fathers?
Sure. Well, certainly you guys have it. Urban Light Ministries. I mean, being, especially in the early days, you were one of the first folks that I met in the fatherhood world. So definitely great.
Is that why you call me the Godfather of fatherhood?
The Godfather of fatherhood. It's funny. A guy called me that. The other day. It was so because I was at an event and he He came to me, he said, man, these guys are out here running around trying to do this father stuff. I told him they got to contact the Godfather, I'm catching up with the gray now, I guess. But absolutely. And I mean, this industry, even now, Eli, as you know, is not even that old still. So I mean, you're going back 15 years ago, probably when I met you, and we, really, like I said, got a lot of great information from you. And then, also, like I said, our Montgomery County is such a forward thinking county. Like I said, I probably couldn't ask for a better employer as far as giving me the leeway, to do things and try things and different things like that. Certainly there's been times like, okay, Mike, too far out of the box. We're not doing that. But at the same time, some of the stuff that we do now, yes, I'm proud that we were able to put it together, but there are other places where, someone may have had a similar idea and they just wouldn't have let them do it, so I have to give Montgomery County a lot of credit. And there are other, 501c3s and nonprofits here. I think what we do in Montgomery County so well is collaborate. It's so important for the clients to see us collaborating. I'm always telling the community partners, they have to be aware of that. It gives them such comfort when they say, hey, such and such from this agency said come over here, and you go, oh, I know them, they're great, this and you can send folks back and forth. And one key thing that I hear from a lot of counties that's a missing link is the courts. We have a great relationship with our courts. It's if you can go into the imposition docket of child support, which is to see whether you're going to go do 30 days for child support or not. And the judge says, what are you doing, or what are you doing to better yourself? And you can say, I'm working with the Montgomery County Fatherhood Initiative, and it actually means something. That makes a big difference, right? Whereas if you can go and, you're in another county and they go, I'm working with whatever, and they go, we don't know them. I don't care about that. Just pay your child support. So it makes a huge difference when you're able to have that kind of relationship, with our court system and the other folks internally, because like I said, it gives you great credibility, and then it also helps hold the fathers accountable, because they know it's just like parenting. I mean, they have those extra sets of eyes on them all the time. Like, hey, remember when we were in court, you said you were going to do this and you were going to do that, and Judge Bruns reached out to me and said she talked to you, and that kind of is like, oh man, they're watching me, so I mean, I gotta do the right thing here, so that's very valuable for me.
Well, it's very valuable what you're doing in the community around fatherhood. We're going to take a final timeout, and when we come back, I'm going to ask you about your motivation and what you hope to see, hope to accomplish over the next 5 to 6 years in your work. And then we'll wrap things up. My guest today is Dr. Michael Newsom of Montgomery County. He is the point of the spear in fatherhood in Montgomery County, the Dayton region. And we'll continue our conversation with him after this final timeout.
Looking to be the best dad you can be? The Fathering Strong podcast is your guide. Hosted by Pastor Eli Williams. Each episode features inspiring conversations with dads who are making a difference. Learn valuable strategies for building strong families, tackle tough fatherhood issues, and get motivated to be your best self. Never miss an episode. Subscribe to the Fathering Strong podcast on YouTube, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts. Your subscription helps us provide free services and resources to families in need. Don't wait. Subscribe to the Fathering Strong podcast today and join our community of dads committed to building strong families. Together, let's make a difference.
My guest today is Michael Newsom. He is the fatherhood coordinator for Montgomery County, and we've been talking fatherhood today on the Fathering Strong podcast. And I want to ask you, Mike, what of all the things that motivate you, what is the thing that is most impactful when it comes to motivating you to keep going with this?
Great question, Eli. I mean, I think what motivates me the most is, it may come from a deficit point of view, and I try to be very positive. But if I'm being honest, what motivates me is seeing guys being mistreated in the system. I mean, that's still, really. As I mentioned before, being able to grow up in a great family, being able to go, get educated and, maybe rise up the ranks in the organization a bit. I want to lend all of that, to the guys that we're serving and guys in the community, the fathers, and as I mentioned earlier, it's important to note that, I know that by doing that, I'm helping the entire family. So it's not an adversarial situation where, we want to try to, let's stick it to mom or whatever. It's more like, this is a value add. This is really going to be great for your family. It's going to be, great for your kids. The statistics are overwhelming, and I tell people you can do it anecdotally too, because I know everybody's not into statistics, but I'll say, think about maybe 5 to 10 people in your life that may be struggling. I guarantee you a high percentage of those folks didn't have a positive male role model growing up, and it's no coincidence. So that really motivates me, and then also too some of the things we see in the news here in Dayton, we're dealing with some violence issues, especially with the young folks, and so just my ability or chance to lend resources to that. To talk about, try to bring some of these fathers up a little bit and making sure that they, one thing we haven't talked about with the fathers, I'm sure you've experienced as well, is, their self-esteem often is low. And so that, a lot of times people will say, how come these guys don't want to get involved with their kids? Sometimes they don't think they're worthy of it, and they don't think that they're bringing anything to the table, especially if they don't have a lot of financial stability. And so, just being able to give them that information of, hey, you showing up, you being there is incredibly valuable and important, and trying to, give them some of that, information that I grew up with. And, and the need is constant. Oftentimes folks will come here and say, oh, I'm going to do a fatherhood program. I wanted to talk to you. I didn't want to step on your toes. I'm like, you're not stepping on my toes. I just want to know who you are, which is great. I tell people 100 fatherhood programs could come here and I'd be at the top of the hill applauding more than anybody, because the need is there, and so just to have the opportunity to do that really motivates me, because the more that you look around and deal with clients, you see some of the difficult backgrounds they came from and some of the advantages that some of us grew up with that they didn't have. So paying that forward is really what motivates me. It's what's one of the things that's beautiful about fatherhood work. I've told you about my family history. I have colleagues who never knew their father. And so their mission is like, I don't want anybody to grow up like that, so that's really kind of more their motivation. Mine is about, giving them, trying to level the playing field as much as possible, to use a cliche, but try to give them, put them in that situation of, okay, listen, you're not going to have to worry about, food on your table and stuff like that. Let's get that together for you. Then you can, maybe that'll build you up enough to think you're doing you're bringing a positive influence to your kids' lives, and then kind of go from there. But yeah, that's really what gets me out of bed in the morning, as they say.
Excellent. We're going to make an attempt, and I'm sure Bruce is hearing me when I say this, to make sure that we get this episode of the Fathering Strong podcast released prior to June 14th and June 13th. So, no guarantees, but we're going to attempt to do that. Okay. So that being the case, share one more time about the events taking place around
Absolutely.
The Father's Day holiday, because you're doing some special things there in Montgomery County.
Thank you. And first of all, of course, just in case folks don't know, Father's Day is as early as it could possibly be this year. So the third Sunday this year is the 15th. So that means the June starting on the 1st. So that being said, that means our Fatherhood banquet is on the 13th. Which is Friday the 13th. Hopefully it won't be a bad luck situation.
But, you didn't go there.
I had to acknowledge it, but it is Friday the 13th. But then the next day will be from 6 to 9 p.m. out at the Sinclair Banquet Center, which is downtown here in Dayton. If you're familiar with Dayton at all, you know where Sinclair Banquet Center is. I'm sure you've probably been to events there. And then on the next day from 10 to 3 will be our Fatherhood picnic down at the Levitt Pavilion, which is just a few blocks up the street, which is where they're on Main Street, corner of Main and 4th, where they do all the free concerts. So we're very excited about both of those events. I always say shirts and ties on Friday and shorts and tees on Saturday. So, give you the whole experience. And we've been, I do want to quickly also touch on our C grant that we received, Eli, from the Ohio Commission on Fatherhood, which has given us the opportunity to do great things with fathers, such as bowling events, Lego night. Man, I never knew Legos were such a big thing. Lego night was lit. And then we're doing Dayton's Dragons games with the guys as well and their families. So, again, providing those activities that families can come to and spend time together for free, and it's a safe environment, and it's something, again, that, they're making memories with their children. But yeah, the Friday the 13th will be the Fatherhood banquet, and then Saturday the 14th will be our picnic. So that's kind of what we're ramping up for at this point.
Good stuff. And if you're in Clark County, of course, we've got a host of fatherhood-related activities going on as well. Years ago, we merged the Juneteenth celebrations with our fatherhood celebrations because they were always conflicting with the dates, and it's just turned out to be an excellent thing. So on that Friday night, the 13th, that morning of Friday 13th, there is a prayer breakfast that'll be taking place at St. John Baptist Church. And then on that Saturday, the 14th, we have our Juneteenth Father Festival, which is a great time for families. It has been growing like crazy, hundreds and hundreds of people. We also have our Fatherhood recognition event called the Good Dad Awards, and those presentations will be made during that event. So contact me for more information about that, or just go to urbanlight.org or fatheringstrong.com. And of course, I'm sure that all of the information about what's happening in Montgomery County for fatherhood can be found
on our website, mcohio.org. So mcohio.org. And so that'll, there should be a fatherhood tab there, but if not, just, do /fatherhood or whatever, and you'll get there. But yeah, you'll see all that information. And again, you feel free to reach out to me. And then, as Eli mentioned, having the day, the event on the 14th, we're only 25 minutes apart. So you can hit both our events, get out and roll up there, then come down to Dayton.
There are people that do.
Absolutely. So, so enjoy it. I mean, we're all giving things away, and you can get two different experiences. So, we've had an event for years that was a Juneteenth event that was a little bit across town as well. And I tell people, man, just hit both of us. It's a great day to just come out and spend a whole day, out in the community having a good time.
Absolutely. Mike, it has been a delight, as I knew it would. Thank you so much for joining us today on the Fathering Strong podcast. Again, the website is mcohio.org. And yes, indeed, there is a Fatherhood Initiative tab. So just click on that and get the information, not only about the events, but also the other things that are programs of the Fatherhood Initiative in Montgomery County.
Thanks so much for having
again,
me,
Mike. We appreciate it so much. Any final words?
No, just thanks for having me. And, again, anything you can do to, promote fatherhood. Everybody is able to do that in some type of a way. And so, do whatever, even if it's something small, just keep in mind that all kids need to involve parents. I always tell people, I didn't say educated, I didn't say rich, I didn't say any of those, just to involve parents. And that usually is, the beginning of a successful journey for children. So I'll just leave you with that. And again, thanks for having me, Eli.
Thanks for being here, and thanks to all of you for joining us for this installment of the Fathering Strong podcast. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for joining us on another episode of the Fathering Strong podcast. We hope you found the conversation inspiring and helpful. To make sure you don't miss out on future episodes, subscribe to the Fathering Strong podcast on YouTube, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts. Just search for Fathering Strong in your favorite app. The Fathering Strong podcast is brought to you by Urban Light Ministries, a nonprofit organization with a 3-decade legacy dedicated to turning the hearts of fathers to their children. Thanks to your support, we're able to keep this podcast and many other resources free for dads everywhere. To learn more about Urban Light Ministries or to donate and help us continue this important work, visit urbanlight.org. The Fathering Strong podcast is a production of Urban Light Ministries. Eli Williams is your host, and Bruce Stapleton of the Momentum Group is the producer and engineer. Our theme music is provided by saxophonist Harold Rayford.